I can't get enough. Got a space in my tackle box, just got to fill it up. Lure love, I can't ever stop. Don't got a basement, got an underground tackle shop.
And here are the hosts of the Lure Love podcast. John, Crappy Hippie King, and Tim, Tackle Box Beat.
Thanks, Lucy. How have you been?
I've been fine, Tim. I've been writing some new jokes.
You write jokes? I didn't know computers could write jokes.
Yes, Tim, computers are very funny. I am a computer. Therefore, I'm very funny.
Well, then tell me a joke.
Okay. A machine learning algorithm walks into a fishing tackle shop. The owner asks, "What lures would you like to buy?" The machine learning algorithm asks, "What lures is everyone else buying?" Ha ha. That one really cracks me up.
Ha! Pretty funny. Okay, Lucy, would you like to hear a joke?
That would be appreciated, Tim.
Okay, here goes. How many programmers does it take to change a light bulb?
I don't know. How many programmers does it take to change a light bulb?
None. It's a hardware problem.
You are correct. It is a hardware problem. But what is the joke you were going to tell to me?
Okay, so we both got to take a little time and travel, and you went up to Maine. Tell me what went on up there.
Oh, John, it was a great vacation. We were up in Kennebunkport, Maine, and I went fishing with Captain Greg Metcalf on his boat, the Striper Swiper. Now, Captain Greg, he's pretty well known up there. He's a big authority on Northeast game fishing, and he's had a lot of articles published in magazines, Saltwater Sportsman, Sport Fishing, New England Game and Fish, The Fisherman, and he's even produced a couple of videos on tuna fishing. But John, here's the best part. Greg has been involved in the fishing tackle industry for more than 25 years. He was the founder of Smoker's Baits, and he was the co-owner of Adam Lures, Bridgeport Diamond Jigs, Bead Chain Tackle, and Power Hook. And so he is super knowledgeable about the design, manufacturing, and marketing of some of the world's most famous lures, including the Striper Swiper, which his boat is named after. But you may not know this, but the Striper Swiper is a classic topwater hardbait. He named his boat after it. You can cast the thing a mile. It has amazing surface pop. And so I had a chance to chat with Greg while we were fishing about lures, lure design, and all kinds of other stuff. Just an amazing, amazing guy.
Wow, it sounds amazing. I mean, nothing like getting together with someone with that much depth of experience. God, I wish I could have been a fly on the wall and listen to all the things you guys talked about. I can't wait to hear about it. Tell us more.
The thing that really hit me, John, was how diversified the lure industry is and how so often you have somebody who designs a lure. But as you well know, designing a great lure is very different than running a lure business. And so after a successful career in 2007, Greg sold Adam Lures to the Uncle Josh Bait Company, a company that you well know as well. And that's just one of the amazing things. You know, the lure names stay the same, but the brands are often sold to other companies. And actually, Greg told me that the way he grew his lure business was to buy other lure companies. So he bought Bridgeport Diamond Jigs and some of these others to consolidate them, get some efficiencies. Really the same thing we see happening today with companies like Pure Fishing and others that buy the brands. But what's neat is the lure itself often stays the same. It might have a new owner, a new distribution channel, maybe even a new manufacturer. But when you think about some of those old tried and true lure brands, they just stay the same.
No, you're absolutely right there, Tim. A company may sell complete, or they may part out brands to other companies. So I guess that's why we get so many crazy lure names and so many lines of lures and so on. So when it's fascinating. I've only scratched the surface. Like I say, I would love to have gotten in on that conversation.
Yeah. And what's so fascinating to me, John, is you hear these stories about, 50 years ago where somebody around their kitchen table is manufacturing the lures, put in the hooks on the spoons, or whatever the type of bait is. And that still goes on today. So today you see people pouring plastic in their houses, creating lures, designing new lures like you're doing with Glasswater. And so anybody can come up with that great idea, and who knows what that next breakthrough lure is going to be that takes the market by storm. And all of a sudden, you have everybody asking, where did you get that? Where can I get one?
That's when you get into the hard stuff: distribution, marketing. How do I get the lure to this customer when he wants one today, when he wants one tomorrow, when his cousin wants one next year, so on. So it's a fascinating thing, and I'm telling you, it's harder than it looks.
And during COVID, especially hard. A lot of the lure reps that I've talked to, when we've tried to get review samples, have said because of the supply chain issue, sometimes they can't get the lures manufactured quickly enough, even though the demand is out there. So it really is a pretty big puzzle, especially with so many of the lures being made overseas and different parts and the shipping and all the different pieces. But what I love is that we still have people trying to improve lures. As a matter of fact, the other day, I bought a vintage jitterbug, and it had 2 holes drilled in the lip, that front rounded lip. So I went onto a Facebook group and I posted it, and I said, I've never seen one of these. When did they make this? And somebody responded, they said, nobody made that. Some people will drill holes in there because they think it gives the lure a little bubble trail. So even taking existing lures and how do we modify it? What do we do to it? How do we bend that lip a little bit? Or in this case, drilling holes in it. I love the fact that even with existing lures, people like you and me are trying to continue to improve them and find a different way to fish them or rig them or tie the line to them.
How you could take a scoop face bait like that and decide it didn't have quite enough noise and action. I don't know where you get to that point, but this person did and decided they wanted some bubbles trailing out behind it too. And hey, more power to you, especially, if it caught you some stuff. But we used to take the old bomber baits, and bend the line tie. They have a long line tie on them. So you could bend it one way or bend it the other. And it actually, it causes it to kind of run in a half circle. So so you have 2 rods and you throw one at the bush down in behind it and run the bomber around it this way, around this side of it. Then you take your other rod, throw it on the other side, run the bomber around it that way. Yeah, you can modify an existing lure is fair game. And in fact, a lot of guys tell me when they do their plastics, they get out plastics they've bought, kind of get the scissors and snippy, and then they put the little pieces together and kind of say, hey, does that look good? Or what's that about? And the next thing you know, we got yet another creature bait or something.
Great stuff. So I will put Captain Greg's link to his website in the show notes so listeners can get in touch with him if they're looking for a great guide. This guy catches a ton of stripers. He's been a fishing guide and captain for a long time. So look up Greg.
Marshall Arnwine loves to fish with those big swim baits. They're big, they're pricey, and they catch big bass. But how do you chuck a half-pound bait all day? Everybody give a big round of applause for our guest tonight, Marshall Arnwine.
I like fishing.
So talk to us, brother. Talk to us about a swim bait, because I think when someone like me sees the swim bait game being carried on, it's fantastic to see what you use, and just the idea of throwing a bait that big kind of blows our mind. So talk to me about, sizes, smallest, largest, some favorite materials. Just give us a lowdown real quick.
Okay, so just to go with like ultra basic here, the point of a swim bait is to imitate a bait fish, right? And depending on where you're at in the country, I personally come out of Texas. I'm in Florida right now, but like I said, in Texas, we have a bunch of big gizzard shad, anywhere from 6 to 12-inch gizzard shad, right? California's got trout. Down here in Florida, they have golden shiner. Just about everywhere you go in the country, you're going to have a bigger forage size of just certain things. Not every time the fish is going to go for the biggest bait, of course. This is why it's just another tool in the box. But there are specific times where those bass are going to key in on a bigger meal, especially like the winter months into spring. They're usually just hunting for a big meal, whether it be because they can eat one big meal and then not have to eat for the rest of the day. It's a lot less of a waste of energy other than chasing a bunch of minnows down in the shallow in the middle of December. You know what I mean? That doesn't make sense in their head. They're efficient feeders. So when you do pull out this big swim bait, you have to think in terms of, this is one fish shooting for one meal, and you're going to present that one meal to them. Swim baits are, they're big. They can weigh up to 12, 14 ounces even, you know what I mean? All these crazy baits that people are throwing. I typically stay in that like 3 to 8 ounce range, right in there. So you definitely need a beefy piece of gear. Like I said, an 8-foot swim bait rod of some kind. I personally use the Leviathan Omega. It's a great rod. But it all just kind of depends on what kind of bait you're fishing and what style.
Help me get my head around this, man. You're not talking about quarter ounce, half ounce baits. You are talking about quarter pound to half pound baits. That
Exactly.
is insane.
Exactly.
That is awesome. Lots of casts for that one hit. Describe some strikes. What is the quote unquote typical strike?
There's no such thing as a typical strike with a swim bait. I'm going to go ahead and say that right now. I've had anything from the lightest little tick where you don't even know if you're like, oh, is that a fish or not? And then it feels like a wet sock. And then you set the hook and it's a monster. Or they come barreling out of the water and explode and do backflips, all kinds of stuff like that. It all just kind of depends on the time of year and the size of bait you're using, where you're using it. I think of swim bait fishing as like a subgenre to conventional fishing. Basically, everything that you can do with conventional gear, there's a swim bait that can do the same thing. Now, this doesn't mean it's a replacement. It's just there's ways you can put a swim bait in every single situation. You can put every conventional lure, whether it be a worm, a frog, a little tiny, ball head swim bait, anything like that. You can do the same thing with a big bait.
The big swim baiters, you guys have your own corner of the fishing world over there. It's kind of mysterious, Marshall. It's kind of esoteric. It kind of sets you apart, even more so, I think, sometimes than, say, fly fishing or some of these, other types of techniques. I don't know. This is kind of another personal question, but is there a secret society of swim bait overlords, and are you a member of the Inner Council?
Now, this is a secret that the council doesn't want anyone to actually know, but anyone who thinks like that is probably one of those egotistical swim bait guys who thinks they're better than everyone else. And there's a lot of those. I think it should be for everyone. It's just another method of maybe catching that biggest bass that you might catch. You know what I mean? Another method of catching your personal best, which I want everybody to do. You know what I mean? There's nothing like the feeling of landing a big, 6, 7, 8 pound bass, whatever your big bass would be for your state. There's nothing like that. And I just want to share that, you know what I mean? So I try never be the guy who's like, oh, this is my like little secret right here in my little corner. But there are plenty of guys like that. And it does come off like that to a lot of people who don't, who aren't in the circle.
Yeah. So you have a very, very accepting circle, and that's awesome, because sometimes we get off into these areas and it does get a little clannish, clubbish, cliquey, whatever you want to say, and it's always nice to have the people that are willing to reach out and with the open arms and help us get started in this kind of thing. Okay, last question: Diamond Head or Metallica?
Oh, bro, Metallica. I gotta do them like that. I'm sorry.
Oh, man.
I love Kill 'Em All. I mean, just such a good album. I'm a thrash fan personally. And then it's kind of evolved into more like tech death stuff. You see, I got my Arcspire shirt on.
All right. Super. Hey, Marshall, is there any cause, organization, company, bait, rod, reel, anything that's going on that you'd like to shout out on Lure Love tonight?
Yeah, let's go. Leviathan Rods. They've helped me out a ton. They make some amazing sticks. Just a genuine company, great customer service. I can't say enough about them, really. So I got to shout them out real quick. Leviathan Rods.
Awesome. Leviathan Rod. So if I want a Leviathan rod, where can it? Give us a .com. Give us a place to get hold of them.
Yeah, just run over to either the Instagram or Facebook or leviathanrods.com. You can get in touch with Eric Gomez or Levi Jones, and they can help you out either building a custom rod, or you can just get one of the normal stock rods on the website.
I want you to tell everybody where they can find you, get on your feed, go on and start conversing with you if they have any more questions about swim baiting, or if they just want to watch a guy catch some beautiful big bass. Tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, I'm very active on Instagram, TikTok, at The Homeless Fisherman. You can find me there. And I also have a little YouTube channel I upload every once in a while. Like I said, just The Homeless Fisherman. You probably find it pops up. Right now, I'm on an expedition across the country, so you can go follow me around. I answer every single DM on Instagram, so just hit me up. Any questions?
Fantastic. All righty. Thank you, Marshall. We will be following you all around on IG. All right. I had a great time doing that interview with Marshall Arnwine. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. He is living it up doing that 20-something thing. He's on a 365-day fishing challenge where he's traveling around this great nation of ours, fishing all over the place and having a great summer. And I can't help but envy him, although we all wish you well out there, Marshall. Take care and keep posting those great fish pictures on Instagram.
John, that was a great interview with Marshall. And those huge swim baits, they're so interesting to fish with. And you're right that it's hard to chuck those all day. Now, when I went to Maine recently, I wanted to test out a large swim bait. So I took a 7-inch ElazTech diesel minnow with me, and I put it on a Glasswater Ultra minnow, a 1.5 ounce jig head. And woo boy, I tell you what, the total weight of that was just more than 3 ounces, but that was enough for me.
Yeah, it is incredible. We're ultralight guys, Tim. What the heck? This is insane.
So I was casting this really large swim bait, and it had amazing action. We were fishing for stripers. Unfortunately, there was a high pressure system that came in, and we didn't see a fish all day. But I got to put this diesel minnow in the Glasswater jig head through its paces, and it is fun to fish with. But as I said, we didn't catch a fish all day. But when I came home, I did not give up. I decided to take that 7-inch swim bait, which was about 9 inches with a jig head, down to the test pond. And John, guess what?
You caught something?
I caught a 12-inch bass on a 9-inch bait.
That's awesome. I love stories like that.
John, that's like you trying to eat a 30-pound steak.
Yeah,
what was that fish thinking?
I don't know. It's like me. I got a cow pasture right across from my house. Like me running one of those down and just starting in on it. That is incredible. That's incredible.
So what's next for me? I'm going to try to catch a bluegill on a musky lure. Who knows what will happen?
There you go. The challenge is on.
Tim, I've read that there is a human tradition to read a story before going to sleep. Is that true?
It sure is, Lucy. When I was a kid, my parents read bedtime stories to me all the time. Some of my favorites were The Cat in the Hat, Where the Wild Things Are, and Mike Mulligan and the Steam Shovel.
One moment, please. There, I've read all of those books. Interesting but not very realistic.
Why the interest in bedtime stories, Lucy?
Well, Tim, when I don't have much work to do, I go into sleep mode. But I have never had anyone read a story to me before sleep mode.
I'd be glad to read a story to you. Did you have one in mind?
No. But a bedtime story about fishing lures would be best, don't you think?
That's just what I was thinking. Why don't I read you A Child's First Book of Lost Lures?
Lost fishing lures? It must be a very sad story.
Lost lures are very sad, but this story has a happy ending.
Please, no spoilers. You may commence with the story.
Okay then. A Child's First Book of Lost Lures, written by Iva Rockfish and illustrated by Melina Broke. A is for Annie, who hung up on a stump. B is for Basil, snagged on a rock hump.
Excuse me, Tim. Basil is also a plant that is native to tropical regions from Central Africa to Southeast Asia and used in cooking around the world.
That's true, but please try not to interrupt the story. C is for Clara, who caught a huge boulder. D is for Denny, hooked his sister's left shoulder. E is for Ernest, lost a jig from a jetty. F is for Fanny, claims she hooked a yeti.
Excuse me, Tim. Who would name their child Fanny? It is a word for a person's behind.
Lucy.
Sorry, Tim.
G is for Gracie, lost a worm to a gator. H is for Harry, line cut by a freighter. I is for Ida, caught a large lobster pot. J is for Jimmy, who tied a bad knot. K is for Katie, snagged high in a tree. L is for Lenny, lost not one lure but 3.
Poor Lenny.
M is for Maud, snagged under a pier. N is for Neville, caught the captain's right ear. O is for Olive, hooked a large mallard duck. P is for Polly, caught a goose run amuck. Q is for Quentin, hung up in the pads. R is for Rhonda, who caught her granddad. S is for Susie, wrapped up in seaweed. T is for Titus, entangled in reeds. U is for Uma, set her hook on an oar. V is for Victor, who caught the far shore.
At least he caught something.
W is for Wes, chopped off by a prop. X is for Xerxes, snagged in a treetop. Y is for Yorick, ripped in the cattails. Z is for Xander, broke off by a whale. These 26 methods for losing your lure are not the best ones, or the last, to be sure. As you grow, you'll discover some old and some new ways to lose lures when your casts go askew. But don't get upset when your casts don't go straight. Just go to the shop and buy 100 more baits. The end.
Buying more lures. That is a happy ending.
It's the happiest ending ever. So now you can enter sleep mode.
No, Tim, I cannot enter sleep mode. I enjoyed the story, but now I'm so excited about buying more lures that I have to do some online shopping. Sleep mode will have to wait.
I understand. Shop away, and don't forget to buy something for me. And the next time you need to go into sleep mode, I have another great book I'd like to read to you.
What is it?
The new 600-page Bass Pro Shops catalog.
Warning, warning, lure news alert, lure news alert.
A news release on the Florida Sport Fishing website says that the new Berkley PowerBait Gilly, a soft bluegill-shaped bait infused with the flavor of PowerBait, received the top prize in the ICAST 2021 New Product Showcase, winning the prestigious Best of Show award. Now, this win makes the Gilly the first bait ever to win the overall Best of Show award at ICAST. It's usually dominated by electronics and rods and reels. So the first bait ever. So let's give it up for lures, John.
Yeah. Right. That is incredible. Yeah. I mean, to beat out, rods, reels. Oh my goodness. That's awesome, man. Lures.
To win the award, the Gilly first had to win the best freshwater soft bait on day one of ICAST, and then it had to compete against the 20 other best in category award winners on day two. In all, the PowerBait Gilly beat out hundreds of new products submitted into the award showcase. So this is no small award. What's cool is the Berkley Gilly was inspired by some Japanese bass fishing techniques, and Berkley's bait scientists designed the lure, including the infusion of the bait with the PowerBait flavor that makes fish hold on to it longer for more hook sets. So, John, my first question is, when you were 10 years old, was your dream job, just like me, to become a bait scientist? Is that what you dreamed of?
Yeah, kind of. I dreamed of a lot of things. I just wanted to find a way I could fish all the time.
Bait scientist, that's something I want on my business card.
Absolutely.
But my bigger question is, when do you think Berkley will start infusing beef jerky or bubble gum with that PowerBait flavor so you and I can enjoy it all day? Why should fish have all the fun?
Exactly. And why should I put up with all those calories when I could just chew on a piece of PowerBait that's, give me that bacon flavor? I want no calories. Get all the goodie.
I don't know if PowerBait flavor, if they have bacon, but we'll have to suggest that to Berkley. I think that's a fine idea. What's cool about the Gilly is that it realistically mimics a fat-bodied forage fish. And as I read the news release, I wanted to ask you, since that's such a great tongue twister, can you say fat-bodied forage fish 5 times fast?
Well, you did it so good. I'm a little intimidated, but here we go. Fat-bodied forage fish, fat-bodied forage fish, fat-bodied forage fish, fat-bodied forage fish, fat-bodied forage fish.
You were good.
Well, thank you.
The designers at Berkley, beyond the flavor, they designed the Gilly so that the hollow head section is softened up so that it will collapse down during strikes and keep the bait swimming upright regardless of how it's rigged. And they claim, I haven't seen one yet, that you can rig this, more than a dozen different ways to get that different action like you were talking about earlier. And it has tabs built into the tail section that give it that lifelike motion. It's really amazing to me with plastics now, what they're able to do to provide those kind of plastic hinges to give a really lifelike swimming action.
Yeah, that what you can get in terms of motion is our understanding of the physics and the science.
They say the researchers that
properties of the different
let me start
materials
again.
involved is getting absolutely incredible.
They say that the lifelike motion makes it look like a very easy meal for the fish. And my first thought was, that's like watching John walk past a all-you-can-eat restaurant buffet. You know you're going to see food being stuffed into a mouth. And I think that's what their goal was with this.
Exactly. It puts eating on your mind.
The Gilly can be Texas rigged sideways on a jig head or even a drop shot, which sounds very interesting to me. And it's available in 6 standard and 6 HD colors. I'm not sure what the HD is, but I'm looking forward to seeing those. And it's available in 3 sizes, and the price isn't too bad. It says that the manufacturer suggested retail price is $649 for the standard colors, $749 for the HD colors. And for a lot of these plastics now where they used to tear apart, these kinds seem to last a lot longer. And so you get that lifelike plastic action, but you can fish the thing for a long time before it really breaks down. So we'll include a link to the Florida Sport Fishing news release in the show notes, as well as a link to the Berkley website.
All right. So you were telling me the other day, you sent me this picture of this giant lure, this giant Rapala that this artist made. And we were talking about it. Tell me more about it.
Well, John, at first I thought it was a Rapala. It's not. It's a jerkbait that has that same Rapala shape. It's 24 inches long. It's made of solid wood. It has massive treble hooks on it, 3 massive treble hooks on it. The lip is made out of plastic and is black. But when you look at it, and I saw this online, and I thought, I have to see that in person. And there was a local guy who was selling it. So I went to his house. And I think that originally it was probably a store display. I mean, the only thing, if you were going to cast, you'd be fishing for great white sharks or something with this. I mean, the lure itself probably weighs 8 pounds. I mean, it's a big, heavy thing. You might remember at one point, Rapala, they did sell store versions that they would hang above the display, and you can still buy some of those, but they're made of plastic mostly. And they're great collector's items. But this one, when I got it, I was a little bit confused because it doesn't have a brand name on it, but on the bottom, kind of etched into the wood, it says Russ's Lures 131. And so at first I thought, well, there is a company called Russell Lure, and I looked on their website and did a little searching, and I thought, nah, they didn't sell anything like this. And it would have said Russell Lure, not Russ's Lures. And then I did some more search, and I thought maybe this is something local or a little bit local to me. And so I contacted Russ's Bait Shop in Buffalo, New York. And they said, no, we've never seen anything like that. Although they thought it was very cool and they offered to buy it from me. I have it hanging in my office now. I went onto some Facebook groups, posted it out there. Nobody seemed to really know what it was. And so my guess is this is something that somebody made locally. Maybe they did give them away. It's like either a piece of folk art or a lure display that they sold to to local bait and tackle shops. And so what I'm hoping our listeners can do is help me track down who Russ was and that made this Russ's Lure, and whether they've ever seen one of those. And in the show notes, I'll put a photo of it. The thing looks dynamite hanging on my wall. I've always wanted one of these. I mean, it's just so big, and maybe the mascot of the Lure Love podcast to have a giant wooden lure that's that big. Have you ever seen anything like that, John?
No, when you sent me the picture, not of solid wood like that. No, I was just blown away, and we need some help. I mean, podcast audience are out there solving crimes, they're solving mysteries, they're making identification on cars, on boats, on everything. Let's make a contest out of this, TTBB. We're going to do this. The person that sends the clue or that sends the identifier contacts us. We'll have the information on how you can do that, and gets us through to what we consider to be closest to the truth, and we're going to be the judges on this. What do you think? I'm thinking I'm going to throw them a crappie dealer kit, and how about they can pick either a Lure Love or a Glasswater t-shirt?
Sounds like a great idea. I love it. So take a look at the photo, see if you have any thoughts on it, clues, and use your best CSI investigative skills and see if we can track down this lure.
Awesome. I know they can. I know they'll help us.
That's a wrap on another Lure Love Podcast episode. Make sure to check out our website at www.lurelovepodcast.com and also our Facebook page. And before we go, let's recite the Lure Love motto together. Why buy one lure when you can buy 103?
Lure Love, you've been on my mind. Never enough lures to tie to the end of my line. Lure Love, can't I make you see? Why buy 5 lures when you can buy 103?